I'll use the same colours I've mixed before for the leaves, but I want some tulip colour, and that's just going to be the permanent rose on its own. It's a beautiful pink, lovely pink colour. And I'll paint that nice and wet over all the flower. Just a little bit weaker at the top. And stronger lower down. And by increasing the tone of the colour on the lower part of it, that helps to accentuate the light on the top. Using the flat brush, lift out a little bit of colour just on the edge of those two front petals. A nice soft highlight. I'll come back to that once it's dried. It's a little bit wet at the bottom here, so I'm just going to mop that up very gently using a damp brush. Get rid of the paint onto some tissue, and I'll paint the stem. I can't paint the top of the stem now because the flower's still wet, but I can paint the leaves. Starting off with the paler of the two greens. Nice and wet. If you don't have your paint wet enough for this, then you can get into difficulties. It can get very blotchy. But if you can paint the whole of an area before any part of it has chance to dry, then you should end up with a nice smooth, clean surface. Just going to be a bit careful here. I've just stopped fractionally short so that the pink doesn't run into the green or the green doesn't run into the pink. I'll make the green a little bit paler on this one, just by adding more water. And then when this leaf has dried, I'll darken the underside as I did on the exercises, and that should make it look as if it's bent over, going away from us. The flat brush to lift out the middle of the stem. And the side of this leaf. Just taking a little bit of colour off higher up as well to get some variety, some variation in the colour, in the tone. And a highlight on the top of this leaf. And the top of this leaf. Now I'll darken the petals a little bit more. Right down the middle here on the inside of these two petals, make that a touch darker, and on the inside of the petal on the right. Soften the top of that, blend that into the pale colour above with a damp brush, not a wet brush. A few directional brush strokes very gently, very soft. And some even stronger red, right in the middle there and right at the bottom here. Soften that a little bit. Any hard edges around the centre of the petals, I just want to soften those with a damp brush. Remember, if it's too watery, if it's too wet, it's much harder to control. So your brush wants to be damp when you're softening. And a very light touch, that takes a bit of practice. A few little darker bits on the tip of the petals. And we'll see how that looks. I want to darken the leaves behind the stem. So dark right up against the stem, there. Soften the top of that with the damp brush. And slightly darker on the tip of the leaf as well. A little bit more colour over that. I want to darken immediately underneath the flower head, and just as if the flower head is casting a shadow over the top of the stem. Darken the underside of this leaf, the lower part of that, blend it in with a damp brush. Or the other way of doing it, remember, was to wet the leaf first and then drop the colour in. Some of you will find one way easier than the other, but try them both. Perhaps we could just put in the suggestion of something else without any drawing. A little bit of dark in that while it's damp. Even a paler dark colour can be quite effective. That's the dark colour, just more water added to it. And there we are, picture finished.
Now available on DVD. Try these techniques yourself at home whenever you wish. Today's workshop is part of the Watercolour As If by Magic Beginners course. 6 fantastic 20-minute workshops on DVD, now available to order from the Painting and Drawing channel. For further information and to order your copy, go to www.paintingdrawingchannel.com.